So going through the draft a little bit more and trying to look at who do I think some of the bigger steals are of the draft, I do feel like Josh Jones is one of the biggest steals of the draft. I mean, he was a third round pick by Arizona, but I think he can really be a starting level tackle. And, I mean, as we've established before, having a starting level tackle is just, that's a ton of value right there. So potentially getting that in the third round, I mean, that's a steal in my opinion. I mean, if you think about what they did with their first three draft picks this year, where they had Isaiah Simmons with the 8th overall pick. A lot of people thought he could go as close as number 3, so him falling to 8 was very good value. They obviously get Jones here with their 3rd round pick, and with their 2nd round pick, they traded it away to get DeAndre Hopkins. So just an incredible use of those 3 picks for Arizona, in my opinion. And I really do. I like Jones. I think he's a really talented player, and I think he's going to be very good for them. And let's just get into why. Let's get into the film study right here. So we'll start things off with this play. It's only a 3-man rush, but he still has a one-on-one matchup, so his assignment hasn't changed. And what's going to happen is that really what's going to be key right here is that, he's the left tackle, so it's going to be key to see if he can get his left hand right now, and that's what he's going to try to make sure he gets latched on. You want to get your left hand. Ideally, if you can find a way to, grab onto the jersey at all, whether it's the pec or the shoulder pad, that's where you want to really grab onto, because then you can definitely do a lot of damage with that. And watch out with his left hand. It's going to be almost like a wax on, wax off type thing, where he sort of, moves his hand over and then is able to grab on. And now at this point for 86, I mean, what can you do? Because Jones also is able to laterally move far enough that there's really just not much you can do right here, and Jones has completely taken him out of the play. That kind of looks easy, but it honestly really isn't. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do whatsoever. I mean, getting that hand placement there, it's really difficult to do sometimes, but he's able to do it very consistently, which is one of the reasons why I think he's very good. I also like his footwork a lot. For a 6'5", 320-pound guy, he can move, which it's also just, it always blows my mind when people that are, ridiculously large humans can still move, more gracefully than I can. Granted, most people can move more gracefully than I can, but that's besides the point. And watch what he's going to do on this play, where, he has to pull over, he has to block that defensive player right there. And watch how he is able to move over and quickly get in position like that, where he has his left arm attached pretty well. He is, this is kind of an awkward block to some degree, because obviously you would rather be twisted over a little bit more and have your legs a little bit further back. But he is able to move over enough that he's able to still significantly make that block. And the reality is, you're not going to get a perfect situation going unless you have to move over before you can really get a good block going. So really just a good play by him, I think. To move over to get that block, but then not just that, but then be able to be good enough to, even though it's kind of a little bit awkward because you had to move very far over, but he's still able to finish the block off. Just a really good all-around play from Jones. His recovery is actually something that I think is very good as well. That's something with a tackle, is that, like, listen, yes, maybe you're only going to give up 10 bad plays a game. You're only going to be in a bad position 10 snaps a game. But if you let up pressures on 7 of those snaps, that's a terrible game. Meanwhile, if you get out of position 12 times in a game, but only give up 2 pressures, well, that's a much better game. And anyways, again, those numbers were way off. I don't know why I started with those numbers, but that's besides the point. Let's look at this play where he is going to start off not really going too well, where it's a one-on-one matchup. The defensive player is going up against is going to make a move to the inside, try to fool him a little bit. Something you can do, definitely works out sometimes. And, you look, Jones is not in the position he wants to be in. While he does have his right arm in that area, it's not so much. So, I mean, at this point, it's definitely not a great situation for Houston. So he's going to have to find a way to come back. Again, ideally, he would like to be another yard closer to the top of the screen right now. So there's several things he can do, but what he's going to end up doing is just attaching where he's at and just pushing, and he's able to sort of push that player away. Granted, there was still a sack on the play, but, that had nothing to do with him, really. There was just pressure elsewhere on that play. I also like this play where it's a one-on-one matchup once again, and what's going to happen right after the ball is snapped is that you're going to notice that this defensive back, defensive end, what he's going to try and do is he's going to eventually try to detach his left arm. So he's going to create the contact, but then try to detach his left arm and sort of just try to squeeze around Jones. That's what he's going to try and do here. But what Jones is able to do is, because he gets his hand placement so well, look at how long it takes before he's able to do it. Look at how long it takes him to detach that left arm. And at this point, there's plenty of time to make a throw. It just took too long to do that. Even though there is now maybe a potential chance that he could run over and make a play, let's say, for example, that the Houston quarterback was taking longer to make this throw, Jones is still able to push him behind the quarterback, although it resulted in an interception. So, that time a sack would have been better, but as a whole, sacks are not very good, and he does a pretty good job of not allowing sacks. So, again, just one of the many reasons that I do like him is I think that his hand placement, that's probably my favorite thing about him, actually, is he gets very good hand placement. He can move very well for a 6'5", 320-pound player. So it's honestly, to me, it's kind of head-scratching he fell in the third round. It seems like he should be maybe even a high-end second-round talent, in my opinion. I think part of it is this is just a good tackle draft, so maybe that factored in. But nevertheless, I think he's still, I think he's pretty good. One more play, we'll show a running play because run blocking is also a part of being a tackle. He's gonna pull over towards the bottom of the screen like that, block a linebacker on this play. So this is something that he'll probably have to do in Arizona. They like to run some creative run concepts, get their tackles moving, which again, that's one of the reasons I like him as well, is he's a tackle who can move, so it makes sense to go out and get him. But he's going to move over, and look at, first off, he's just in perfect position right here. This is exactly where you want to be. The one thing that can go wrong is that the UCF player, he's probably going to, try to go to a certain side, but when he does go to the bottom, look at how Jones is just able to completely knock him out of the way. I mean, that's just a dominating block right there. The halfback probably should have been a little bit more patient, let him make that block. Probably could have gotten more yards, but definitely a really good play from him. He's just a really strong guy, a quick guy, and an incredible athlete. I do kind of get the feeling that he's just he's one of those guys where he's too talented to fail in a lot of ways. There's so many things that he does well, and very few things that he does poorly. And, I would have drafted him in the second round. I would not have let him get to the third round if I was someone who had a second-round pick. Arizona, they probably figured he was going to be gone, but are probably thrilled that they were able to get him with a third-round pick. So, yeah, I mean, this is a steal to me in a lot of ways, especially because, he uses his hands so well, which I do think is the most important thing in a tackle. And, oh, by the way, he's just an incredible athlete. I mean, he's one of the better athletes out of the offensive linemen. I mean, there's a couple that went higher that were more athletic than him, obviously. But, after those first four, he might be the most athletic tackle in the draft. It seems like that was kind of part of the Arizona Cardinals draft strategy was, hey, let's go out and let's draft some incredible athletes. They did that with Simmons, and now they're doing that here with Jones, and it makes some sense. I mean, I do think that the Cardinals, I think they're rebuilding a little bit more this year. I think, I'm not quite sure I'm sold on them as a playoff team just yet. I think they're trying to build, they're trying to create something. I think maybe next year I could see it happening. It seems like right now they have, in my opinion, the correct strategy when you don't have a ton of talent on your team, which is just try to get some more talent. Try to just get some talent any way you can. Don't necessarily worry about how well they fit a certain system. Just try to get a bunch of talent. And then once you have a relatively talented team, once you have a playoff team, then you can sort of work on getting the select guys that are going to really fit that team perfectly to complete the team. You want to first get a core, and then once you get that core, then you can worry about, the role players that are going to fit better, and maybe, not getting the most talented player, but getting someone who is talented that'll fit your system. I like the idea of just going with most talented when you're not a great team. And I think the Cardinals are slowly turning into a great team, and who knows, maybe quickly turning into a great team. So, I feel like the Cliff Kingsbury era has definitely gone very well for Arizona so far. Hopefully it continues for them. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.